ZAC support, runes, items, combos, lane phase tips, all in one guide. Hi, I'm Doglightning, off-meta support main, and like this video to show some support, and let's begin. Okay, so for runes, Aftershock is pretty much the only real viable one, but there is another one that I'll show after this that is gaining some popularity. So to start off with Aftershock page, you go Aftershock because ZAC is a CC engage slash peel support, and Aftershock makes you tankier. So yeah, we're going Aftershock. We're going a Font of Life because there's nothing really great in this tree for ZAC, and you just go that. You go in and you ulti over the backline and apply the mark to everyone. On this tree, it's very dependent on matchups. If you can ever get away with conditioning, conditioning is just always OP. By the 12-minute mark, it's always better than the other two, and you think you're going to be scaling to late game and you won't need it for lane, definitely take conditioning. But if you're in a really hard poke lane, ZAC is very squishy and low range, and it does get poked really easily, so second wind is good versus poke lane. Say you're versus a Sona support with an Ezreal ADC and they're just constantly tagging you with Qs. This would be really good. And also bone plating is good if you're looking for early all-ins. Just make sure you don't get it poked off you before you go, but if you can sit in a bush and find an engage with bone plating, it'll end up blocking a lot. So yeah, but if you can get away with it, conditioning. And then for your runes, usually I go Revitalize. Revitalize is really good because it gives you heal and shield power by 5%, and when you're low health, it gives it to 10%. If you don't know how ZAC's passive works, is every time he uses an ability on an enemy, it drops a blob that when he picks up, it heals him for percent of his HP. And a big part of ZAC's tankiness comes from when he's low HP, just picking up your blobs and walking around. And Revitalize really synergizes with that playstyle. But if the enemy has a lot of CC and stuff, you can go for Unflinching, as sitting in CC for less time will probably out sustain Revitalize in a lot of scenarios. For secondary parts of this rune page, there's different variations you can go. This is my favorite, and I'll show you all three, but you go Triumph because you're jumping the backline, and you obviously as a tank, when someone on the enemy team dies, healing 12% of your HP is a ton. And Tenacity because Tenacity is really good on tanks. So this is just a very standard tank secondary runes with CDR, armor, and HP because HP is really good on ZAC because of how his passive healing works. So variations on the secondaries that I have seen and tried is, if you don't want to go this, if you want to play to roam and move around the map a lot, Zombie Ward with Relentless Hunter is really good too because it gives you extra vision in the map later. Extra AP is good because he actually scales decent with it, and move speed. But you can also go for cheap shot for some lane phase shenanigans. But yeah, this is a viable page. Just note that it's going to make you a bit squishier than this page and a bit more vulnerable, but it's going to give you better movements around the map and get you in position to hit big E's around. So it's actually very good for sure. And the other one that I sometimes will run on ZAC is sometimes I'll go this. Flash is good on ZAC because when you're bouncing on your ult, you can flash on someone. Just a really good thing. Or you can hit a Q, flash to another minion, hit a Q. And Dematerializer. So the only reason I run this page is specifically is, again, if I'm running versus a poke lane, so I'm second wind, and I need something to help me secure cannons. Say every time I go to auto attack a cannon, I'm playing versus Zyra support, and she's going to root Q with plants, and their ADC is going to combo me, and I'm going to lose 75% of my HP for the cannons. That's when I'll usually run the Demat rune page, is just for when I'm versus like poke lanes that I'm really scared to go up and walk up and auto attack the cannon minions. I use it to secure cannons, but in general, this is my normal page. So for the bonus page, this is a page I personally have not tested myself, so I cannot vouch for it, but I've seen another ZAC support main and GM Elo I was facing. I added him up and looked and asked him when he runs this page, and he's been running Glacial sometimes. Most of the time he runs Aftershock, but sometimes he runs this page, so I will show you real quickly. Yeah, and same kind of stuff like this. Again, you can change up probably something like this is more likely what you'd be running with this page, but you can run any of the secondaries. So the idea of Glacial is you only run Glacial in comps where your job is to peel your AD carry. So if you have a hyper carry, you have Jinx, Vayne, Aphelios and stuff, you're not looking for all-ins in lane, you're not looking for any of that stuff, you're just looking to peel. Glacial can be really good because basically you can put the 15% damage reduction on the ground in the Glacial and help peel your ADC. So again, Aftershock is much better than this, and if you're new to ZAC, I would do it. But if you're someone who main ZAC support and you're watching this video and you're looking for something new to try out, I would definitely consider Glacial Augment. It's actually quite good if you are not planning to go in. ZAC is very squishy as a tank support. If you're planning to go into the middle of the enemy team, do not run this rune. And we run it with Perfect Timing. Perfect Timing is actually pretty good on ZAC because basically how it works is with ZAC, you can actually use Stopwatch mid-air while you're flinging through the air. So you can charge up your E, fly in, and then you can Zhonya's, and it'll still hit and knock everyone up, but you're going to be in Zhonya's and untargetable. So kind of interesting synergy. Might as well run it in this tree and just sell it when it's done. But anyways, I'll show you that when we get into the item section, just a demonstration. But that's going to be coming up in a sec because I'm done with the runes. So if you have any questions about the runes or any other rune pages you like to run on ZAC, something crazy like Predator, let me know in the comments. Let's get down to the item section. Alright, so here's the item section, but quickly before we get into that, if you have missed it, there should be a link right above me right now. I've been doing one off meta support for my support pool per week since the preseason started, so go check that out. We've done like Vex, Talia, Nico, Anivia, and there's going to be more to come like Ivern and some other things, so yeah, stay tuned for that, and like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the item guide. So, to start off, before we actually go into the items, I will quickly show you the synergy with ZAC and the stopwatch, as I promised. So quickly, if you have stopwatch on ZAC, the reason why the stopwatch rune isn't bad is because you can go in, and then you can Zonya's mid-air, and it still hits it. So that's a cool synergy that you can use, and that's always fun. But anyways, to get into the actual items, so there is the mythics. So for mythics, you have 3 options, in my opinion. So Even Shroud is, we'll start with that because it's the new item. So Even Shroud is kind of cool because it applies the 9% damage amp on anyone who you mobilize, and obviously you're going in and just CCing enemies, right? If there's a bunch of enemies, you'd be ulting and you'd be bouncing around and applying this damage amp to everyone on the enemy team. But to be honest, I don't really like this item on ZAC unless I am playing to peel. So if you are the main engage on your team, unless you are a secondary engage or peel, this isn't my go-to item. The reason being why it's not my go-to item is because of the fact that it makes you really squishy. ZAC is a really squishy champ already, and in my opinion, it makes you too squishy. It doesn't give you that extra survivability. You'll go in and apply the damage amp, but die. And you'd probably out damage it by being alive and getting more W's off and just damaging yourself. So yeah, I only would run this if you are secondary engage or peeling. I would not run this if I were the main engage. So if you were main engage, I would be going either Locket or Frostfire Gauntlet, and it really just depends on how you're doing in lane. So if you first back with 400 gold, right, I would get a Ruby Crystal, and if I backed again with another 400 gold, I would just go Kindle Gem and end up going for the Locket. But if I backed and had, 700 gold for the Bambies, I'd probably go Bambies as it gives me more kill pressure in my lane and a bunch more HP, and ZAC really likes HP, but it really depends. Both are good. So going over first why Locket is actually so much better than Even Shroud, even though they have basically the same stats in terms of what they give you. The big difference is this just gives you the mythic bonus that gives you a bit more resist, but this one gives you the active shield, and the active shield is really, really good on ZAC because basically when you're low HP, you want to be picking up blobs to survive, and the blobs heal you more based on how low you are, right? So this healed me for 46 right there, and if I get myself hurt a bit and go do it again, it'll heal me for a lot more, right? So the idea of the Locket is that when I'm low HP like this, and I use my abilities and I have blobs on the ground, I can pop Locket to give me time to pick up more blobs and stay alive, and it really helps. So the Locket shield when you're at low HP to pop it and pick up blobs off the ground really helps a lot and just gives you that extra survivability. And then obviously the last one is the Frostfire Gauntlet, which again is really good because it makes your auto attacks put in big AoE slow on the ground, which when you walk up and hit them, it's super good. Big AoE slow on the ground that does AoE damage, so it's super, super good. You can go out, right, and you hit the enemies with the Qs, you pull them together, hit them with an auto attack so they're slowed, and land your E on them and stuff. So yeah, that's the mythics I'd run. Not much to say about them other than that. I've kind of spoken enough. One other thing actually is, if you are going Frostfire Gauntlet, I would recommend CDR boots with this because early in lane, when you get the Bambies, you're going to be missing out on CDR, and ZAC really wants CDR. His E is a long cooldown, right? 16 seconds at level 6. You get CDR boots, it goes down to 14, which might not sound like a lot, but 2 seconds off is quite a lot, and you have a long cooldown on your Q, so I definitely recommend CDR boots paired with Frostfire Gauntlet to make up for the CDR loss early, but you can go tankier stuff with it too, but I would recommend CDR boots. If you're going with Locket or Even Shroud, you're going to be a bit squishier than Frostfire. With Even Shroud, for sure, I would recommend a tankier boots. With Locket, it really depends what you're going for. If you're going, but you can go with either. But yeah, you can just go for the Blade Steel Caps if you're worried about ADs, and Merc Treads if you're worried about APs, or if you want some tenacity. But anyways, and now for some items. So for items, there is now the Knight's Vow. So Knight's Vow is actually quite a good item on ZAC now that it got changed, because you can redirect damage your allies taking to you, and the damage they're doing to the enemies heals you. And usually, if you apply this to a champion on your team who is, usually if your teammate has, is fed, which is when you want to build this, is when you have a fed ally you're protecting. Usually that ally will out heal the damage they take with this. So it ends up just being super good. It gives HP, CDR, which ZAC wants. It keeps your carry alive. Super good item. Definitely really good combo with Even Shroud, where you're sitting back and peeling a carry, and you're CCing the enemy off of him and keeping him alive. Super good synergy with these items. On top of that too, if you're peeling maybe an AP carry, Abyssal Mask can be good for peeling an AP carry because you can increase the damage the AP carry is doing and also increase your own damage. So yeah, this would be a highly synergistic build right here with the Even Shroud, Knight's Vow, and Abyssal Mask for a pure peel ZAC build. So yeah, that's what I would run for a peel ZAC build. If you are going for, obviously also, if you don't want Abyssal Mask, you can go for the Thornmail here to reduce the enemy's healing with anti-heal. But yeah, and if I was going for a diving build where I'm diving and hitting the enemy backline, you can go Frostfire or Locket. And then with that, there's a few options. Anathema's Chains is really, really good. Whoever on the enemy team is the tank shred on their team, usually they're ADC or something. ZAC loves health. It gives 650 health. You can buy this item. It has a good build path, and you can apply it to their tank shred and make it so that they can't kill you. And then after that, you can go for whatever you need. If they have fed APs or ADs, right, you can go for Thornmail if they have fed ADs and you want to apply anti-heal. Or if they have fed APs, you can go for Spear Visage. Spear Visage is very good on ZAC, obviously, because again, his passive where he drops blobs on the ground, right, and you're picking up these blobs to heal you, and you're getting extra 25% healing. You can see even off just that alone, it just healed me 300 extra health. Excuse me, 300 extra health. So yeah, very, very good items for a build. So like this would be an example build that I would do if I was diving the backline. Either one of those two. Locket is kind of can mix between peel and dive. It's like, if you don't know what you're going to be doing in the fight, probably Locket. But like if you're going Even Shroud, you're most likely peeling. And if you're going Frostfire Gauntlet, you're most likely diving, kind of a vibe, right? So anyways, these are the items for ZAC. Hopefully I didn't drag on too long talking about that. And now we're going to do some combos. Okay. So for your abilities on ZAC, you always max your E first. The reason is you can see here the range of it goes up with each point in it. So if I go here and I show the range, okay, let me get an ally dummy so you can see the enemies, right? So I am barely in range of this target dummy. And if I level up twice here, oopsie, that's refresh. Level up twice here. Okay, I'm trolling. Level up twice here. Third time's the charm. We are almost in range, right? I put a point in it. Now we're really in range, right? And now we are over range, right? So this is really important for ZAC because first of all, it reduces the cooldown and it gives you farther engage range. So yeah, that's a big important thing. After that, you can max W or Q. W will increase your damage by a lot. It goes from 4% max HP to 8%, and you're literally spamming this like crazy because when you pick up blobs, it reduces its cooldown. So like it's there, and now I pick it up and it's off cooldown, right? Well, I had this on, so it's kind of cheating, but yeah, right? It reduces its cooldown by a second every time you pick a blob up, and it'll end up healing you a ton. And the reason why it's good to max it is because it's going from 4% to 8% of their max HP. A percentage is a big number, so this will do a ton of DPS. But if you are solely just peeling, you can also put points in your Q for the reduced cooldown so that you can peel better. Anyways, now that we're done with the skill order, some combos. So your main engage combo in terms of team fighting and stuff will be you are usually wanting to be out of vision of the enemy over a wall, and you're going to E in, and as soon as you E in, you're going to Q an enemy and auto attack another enemy, and this pulls them together and stuns. So if you don't know how this works, I'll show it again quickly. If you Q an enemy and auto attack the same enemy, it just slows them. But if you Q an enemy and auto attack a different enemy, and this also works with minions and stuff, it stuns them. So I can also over here hit an ally, hit a crab, and it'll stun them together, or I can hit the crab and hit an ally, it'll knock them together. This also works with blast clone plants and stuff, right, where you can pull them together, or you can do it with wards, so be creative with it. But yeah, your main engage will literally be you E in, try to hit a Q stun, and start spamming W and pushing ulti and picking up as many blobs as you can, right? So you E in, you hit Q, right, and you push R, start bouncing around, and make sure you're picking up your blobs to heal yourself, and you just bounce around and try to hit as many enemies as possible, right? So yeah, that's like your main engage combo with your E. The other variation of your engage would be with your Q. So you walk up and you Q, flash, auto attack, right, and then start ulting around. That's very reliant on your flash. Obviously, if you can get a freaking Q without flashing is whatever, but a lot of the times if you're talking about an engage, say you land a Q on this guy, you just flash, auto attack, E in the middle of them, and then R. So that's basically your only combos on ZAC. He's not very very hard with his combos. So hopefully that helped. And let's show you now some lane phase tips. So let's get down here, and this is the enemy's minion wave. This is your minion wave, and this is your ADC, and this is their ADC. So it's going to be a bit different. You almost never want to, unless the person has no flash and has no gap close, like unless you're guaranteed you're going to land it, you do not want to, you do not want to gauge it by using your E. Because if you miss your E, you won't proc your aftershock. It'll be very hard for you to, if you miss, and then you might miss your Q, say they flash, then you miss your Q, and you're in a vulnerable position with no aftershock up and you might die. It might sound weird, but your main engage, and what you actually take level 1 in lane is you take Q level 1. Very important, take Q level 1 on ZAC, not E. You're looking for E's, Qs, so your Q is actually longer range than it looks, right? So like right here, I'm about in range to hit my Q on this guy, right? And then you just auto attack a minion, pull him in, and E. Very simple. I'll show that again. What you're looking for in lane is you're looking to hit a Q. And if you miss your Q, no harm, no foul. You walk away. If the enemy support tries to engage on your ADC, you can counter engage on their ADC with E still, right? It's really important to keep your E up for the counter engage. All you do is you're walking up and hitting Q, auto attack, and then E, right? And then you can engage and do whatever. So unless you're guaranteed to land your E, I would almost never, ever recommend using your E to engage. Now, another cool combo you can do in lane is you hit your Q on a minion, and you actually can E, and even if you miss your E, you can still get in range to hit the Q, right? So I'll show that again. A cool tip, like say you hit your Q, you end up missing your E, but you get in range to auto attack and you can still pull them together and start ulting, right? So this is a cool little trick, but you have to be careful because there is a range on the Q. So like if I hit the Q here and I E'd way over here, it's going to break it. So you have to be very careful to make sure you're not going too far, right? You're just getting in range to hit them and knock them together. It's a kind of unique combo, kind of hard to pull out after lane phase, but in lane phase, it's very doable. So yeah, basically that's it. And in team fights, you're basically just going to either be sitting back and peeling your ADC. So if this guy jumps in and tries to hit your ADC, you know, you're trying to peel him off your ADC, right? And ulti him away, right? So like your job if you're peeling. And if you're engaging, you are usually in team fights just going to be ulting into the back line and just bouncing around and causing a menace on as many people as you can. And then CCing. So there's not really much to say about ZAC. He's pretty simple in that regards. The biggest thing you have to remember is pick up your blobs in fights. There will be lots of fights will be 1 HP and you're just going to be, people will be tunneling you and you'll just be walking around picking up your blobs off cooldown, healing yourself, right? So just keep picking up blobs as you're fighting, and that's where effective tankiness comes in, which also brings you to the counter to ZAC is anti-heal. If the enemy team starts getting anti-heal, your tankiness is going to go down quite a lot. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe, check out my other guides, and see you guys next week for whoever I decide to do. Peace out.